So the big question is this: as hardworking Americans like us, ones who weren't born rich, what side hustle can we do that'll give us more control, more freedom, and more confidence in our lives? How can we make our own money when we want, where we want, and how we want, while being our own boss and calling all the shots? What can you do right now that quickly, simply, and easily banks you an extra $1,000 to $5,000 a month? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is AJ, and welcome to the Flipping Ninja Podcast.
Hey guys, it's AJ here with Flipping Ninja. We got this excellent question from Flipping Ninja Blueprint member Michael Rogers. He says, when you buy things from thrift stores, etc., and then turn around and resell them to someone, what do you say when they ask how long you've had the item? Do you tell them you're a reseller and haven't had the item long? A lot of people assume that I'm the original owner of an item and want to know how long I've had it. I guess it gives them assurance that I know the item well and there's nothing wrong with it. When they ask how long I've had something, it stumps me because I'm hesitant to tell them I've only had the item a few days or weeks. I've told them that before and it tends to raise flags. What do I do? This is a really good question. See, these are the types of questions I love, because whenever I get questions like these, whenever someone asks such a detailed, in the trenches type question like this, it shows that they're actually out there on the field doing this. They're fully immersed in, flipping things, and they're fully just out there killing it, because only then will you encounter such a specific scenario like this. So, excellent question again from Michael, and let's jump right into it. He says whenever he tells them he's only had it for a few days or weeks, it tends to raise flags. So there's actually a reason that it's raising flags, and this reason has to do with human nature. Okay, this is crazy, but so here's the deal. I'm going to tell you about a study that Psychology Today did on human beings, and it has to do with wanting less as long as others don't get more. So here's the deal. There was a study done where, two people were asked to imagine that they would be splitting $1,000 with the person they'd worked hard on a project with. So two people asked to split $1,000 on a project that they both worked really hard on together with, but the other person would decide on how to split it. So in one condition, participants were told to imagine that the other person wanted 80% of the money. So basically, if you accept, you get just 20%. If you reject, neither of you get anything, and the company you worked for keeps the money. So in this case, 20% of the people said that they would accept if they were not close to the other person, and 38% said that they would reject if it was a person close to them making the offer. So again, a good percentage of people said they would forego $200 if it meant that the other person got $800. Now this was true even though they wouldn't get nothing instead of the $200. So think about that. There's basically two things at play here. First, people have a massive need to perceive the world as fair and just. So basically, we're motivated to want what we perceive as fair outcomes. So if it isn't fair that someone else gets, randomly gets more than you get, a lot of us will fight this, even if it means that we end up, with nothing or worse off. And the second thing is, in this world that we're in, we don't often worry so much about how well we're doing, but how well we're doing relative to others. So that means when we see someone else get ahead more than we're getting ahead, this is, there's often a bit of temptation to want them to get knocked back down a bit. So does that make sense to you? Now think about this. Let's throw ethics completely out the window. We're dealing with human nature here. So basically what this means is we don't often want what's best for ourselves. We want what places us in our minds above other people, even if it means losing out a bit on ourselves. So it totally makes sense. If you're telling, in a flipping standpoint, if someone comes to, buy your product and they find out that you're getting some type of gain out of this, or, you've only had it for a few days or weeks, that's the reason why it's raising red flags, because suddenly they're like, oh wait, if you're going to gain out of this, I'm not, it doesn't create a good feeling. And it's like, yeah, from a logical standpoint, it shouldn't matter, right? I mean, what the heck? Who cares? They want the item. Who cares how you got it? But it's all about the perception they get from it. Now, on another note, think about this. The clothing that you wear, the clothing that you buy, the clothes that we all have and buy and enjoy, if we truly knew the history and the details of how some of them came to be, how, maybe, and I'm just kind of making this up as I go to paint a picture, but if you truly knew how these giant big corporations are banking on these clothes and they're making these sweatshop workers overseas suffer away and slave away and work for nothing under crazy circumstances just to make these clothes that we're wearing. Let's say Macy's is your favorite clothing store. Okay, you love their clothes, you love going there, and you feel amazing every time you walk in and you purchase your favorite shirt or your favorite pair of jeans, right? Now, what would things be like if Macy's broadcasted and advertised the fact that, oh shoot, 10 kids in China or whatever had to work 27 hours to make this shirt for you for nothing? Okay. Now, like I said before, let's throw ethics out the window for a sec. Okay. Because there's reality and then there's ethics. So let's just think about the facts. If Macy's were to market that and advertise that and tell their customers that, how would the customers feel? Okay. Even if people knew the truth. Okay. And I don't even know that if that's true. That's probably not even true. Who knows? But you get the point I'm making. Do people want to hear that? Let's say the shirt you're wearing was created that way. Do you really want to hear that? Do people want to hear that every time they go out to have that buying experience? Or do they just want to be sold on the item? Do they want to walk out of that store feeling good about their purchase? If you knew every little detail of how you got that shirt that you're wearing right now and what people had to go through to create it, how would you feel when you buy it? Would you feel good about wearing it? Would you not care? Or would you not buy it at all? I'm willing to bet that the majority of people will probably not feel so good about buying it, or probably not feel good about wearing it. And it would totally change the whole industry. Now, there's still going to be people out there who will buy it anyway and be like, oh, that's just the way it is. That's how the world works. I can't really do much about it. I'm still going to buy it. No big deal. Everything's fine. But the majority of people, the moment they hear the story, they're going to suddenly get those feelings. They're not going to feel good about it. Now, that's an example that's totally different and separate from what Michael's asking. It's totally different from flipping things, right? So logically, from a logical standpoint, when someone finds out that, you've just owned the item for a couple days or a couple weeks, or that you're making money on it, it shouldn't bother them, right? It shouldn't affect their decision, right? They shouldn't feel iffy about it logically, right? If it's an item that they're going to buy and they want to buy and they're going to buy it from you anyway, if they find out that you just bought it for a fraction of the price 5 days ago, it shouldn't bother them, right? I mean, they shouldn't care, right? But here's the thing. Human nature is not always logical. Okay, it's just the way it is. If they find out that this table that you're selling for $300, if they find out that you just bought it for $10 a few days ago and you're selling it for $300 today, most people naturally, they're going to automatically, even subconsciously feel those feelings like, oh, wait, you're getting a gain out of this? Oh, that suddenly it basically lowers the perceived value for them. Now, for some reason, this is human nature. Okay. Now think back to that study that I mentioned earlier of, two people being offered a certain amount of money. One person gets to decide whether to split it at 80%, and the other person, if they know that the other guy is getting more money than them and they're getting less, they would choose, instead of choosing the lesser amount of money, they would opt out to choose that nobody gets nothing because they know the other person's getting more money. They would rather have the other person not get anything because they don't see it as fair. right? Okay, so in the flipping game, someone sees your item, they come to buy it, they find out that you're making money on it, or, you've owned it for just a couple weeks. That little human nature mechanism is going to immediately kick in for them. Now, logically, they shouldn't, right? And from an ethical standpoint, a lot of people might be like, oh no, you should be totally honest and tell them exactly how long you've had it. But here's my viewpoint on it. Look, this is human nature we're dealing with. As long as what you're selling, as long as what you're marketing and advertising is not dishonest, or it's not something, you're not lying to them or deceiving them in a way that'll affect, them and the product that they're buying from you, or as long as there's not like some defect or the item is broken or, something like that, I don't see anything wrong with telling them that you've owned it for longer than you have so that they feel better about their purchase. Try to think about it this way. When you're selling an item to someone, don't just look at it as you just trying to make a quick buck. Okay. And some people will think like this is, dishonest or unethical or this and that, or they might be like, oh, why would you lie to them and say you've owned it for this long when you've really just owned it for this long and all this stuff, right? Think about it this way. If you actually care for your clients, for your customers, for these people that you're selling these items to, you're not just after the money. You're not just trying to, sell them the item and collect your money and kick them out. Try and learn to, actually care about them. Think about the buying experience that they're having when they come and buy your item. Now, what do I mean when I say buying experience? You want them to, not only take the item and be happy with it, you want them to feel amazing about their purchase. You want them to feel amazing about the fact that, they're buying this from you. So if you can offer them, like a story or, even something simple. I'm not saying you have to go out there and start totally making up a bunch of stuff or lying. I'm just saying if it's something that's not a huge deal, like, if it's not a huge deal, whether you owned this chair that you're selling for 2 years or whether you owned it for 2 days, if it's not a huge deal like that, like if it's not the end of the world, if they've actually, found out that you've only had it for a few days versus, longer, why not give them that feeling? Why not give them that satisfaction and those good feelings of, security, assurance, more perceived value, that feeling that they're getting a good purchase, a good item from a reputable person? Why not give that to them? If it's doing no harm to anybody, why not give that to them and tell them that so they feel better about the purchase, right? So if you stop and think about it for a sec, you've got some people saying that's unethical, because, you are not being honest with them. You're telling them you've owned it for this long when you've only bought it the other day. A lot of people will say that's unethical, but if you kind of look at it differently, wouldn't you agree that it's actually more ethical? It's actually more good to go into it with this understanding of human nature. That, they can't help it. They can't help but feel that way. So it's like, why not be ethical and make them feel good about their purchase? You see, it's coming from a place of love, right? And it sounds weird. You're probably like, oh, just, why are you answering with this long drawn out thing? But the reason I'm answering it is because it's a total mindset shift, and I want you to look at it in a different way. And, there's going to be different people on different sides of the fence about this. Like I said, some people are going to be like, oh no, AJ, I'm not going to lie about this to them. That's like super wrong and you don't need to lie. But it's like, yeah, I see where you're coming from and that's fine. But also remember what's going to happen. These people, they might still buy your item. Your item is still going to sell, but how are they going to feel about it? I've sold to a lot of people where I've told them straight up, like, yeah, I picked this up from an estate sale the other day and I'm flipping it. And when you buy this, I'm going to make money on it. I've been totally transparent, straightforward with people. And a lot of people are totally fine with that too. I remember one guy, I bought this electric recliner from an estate sale, and I told him straight up, I'm like, yeah, I just bought it the other day and I'm making, I didn't tell him how much I was making exactly, but I'm like, yeah, I'm flipping it. And he's like, oh, cool. Well, I hope you get, he came to buy it and he's like, oh, I hope you got a good profit out of it. So some people are totally fine with it, right? But for the most part, most people, they're still going to get that feeling when you tell them. They're still going to have that feeling of, like Michael said, uneasiness or, red flags, etc. So it's really your call. I want you to think about all these things I'm saying. If it resonates with you, if you're like, oh shoot, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I'm going to do it this way from now on, or vice versa. It's your call. I want you to make the decision. But let me give you one last example of kind of how I view all of this. Okay. When your wife comes up to you and she asks you, honey, do I look fat in these jeans? Even if whether she looks fat or not, that's irrelevant. Look, if you were to be absolutely critical and totally honest and quote unquote ethical, that, you never want to lie and this and that. If you were to be that guy and you were to look at your wife and you were about to answer her question, what is that going to do? How is that going to make her feel? What is that going to do to your relationship, your marriage? If you were to be absolutely critical, even if she didn't look fat in it or whatever, like I said, whether she looks fat or not, that's irrelevant. But let's say you responded with something like, no, you don't look fat, or no, you don't look that fat. Like just very like point blank, logical, like, no, you don't look fat. Or you could say yes, you could be totally honest because you're an ethical, honest person and you don't want to lie. And you could be totally honest and you can be like, yeah, it kind of does make you look fat. What is that going to freaking do? Or you could be like, no, it does not make you look fat. Boom. Simple, straightforward, right? Or on the other hand, you can look at her after she asks you and as she's standing there waiting for your answer and you say, baby, what are you smoking? Do I look fat? Did you really just ask me that? No, absolutely not. You look like the most beautiful, gorgeous woman in the whole universe. Now, from now on, the word fat should be out of your vocabulary. Why would you even ask me if you look fat? No, you look amazing in those, pants, right? Now, what is a response like that going to do to your relationship, to your marriage? How is that going to make her feel? How is that going to make you feel? As opposed to any of the other answers that we talked about. Are you lying? Are you not being ethical? Because instead of just answering her question point blank, you kind of spruced it up a little bit and you made the whole experience better and you kind of totally turned it around for her and you made her feel good. You made her go from feeling a little insecure to feeling empowered, amazing, happy. No, you didn't. Okay. And there's still some people out there who will not even do that. They'll feel weird about that or they'll be all weird, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Those aren't the people I want to hang out with anyway. So it's a very similar type of example. And that's how I want you to look at it when you're out there flipping something or when a customer comes to buy something from you and they ask you that. Don't look at it as being dishonest or unethical or feeling weird about it. Look at it as, look, this person is your wife, this customer, this person, this client, this person who's coming to buy your item. This person is your wife. You don't want to just tell them, okay, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I bought it the other day and I'm flipping it and making money here. Or yeah, I owned it for whatever. You want to make them feel good about their purchase. Okay, not only are they going to be happy and feel good and their lives are going to be better, that precious moment of them purchasing something, the feeling they get of buying something that they want. Because look, we're all emotional. Okay. We make buying decisions emotionally. So not only are you going to give them that amazing feeling, but also you're going to feel better. You're going to feel happier and more satisfied. And you're going to love the whole process even more. And it's going to add fuel and momentum to your, flipping even more. And you're just going to love serving people, right? And everything just becomes more beautiful. I mean, there you go. You just did your good deed of the day. You're making this person feel good, right? So look, you're not just out there selling stuff and making money, okay? Be proud of what you do. Be proud of what you're doing. And like I said, you see how this requires a total mindset shift? You see, the reason you feel kind of hesitant and uneasy when somebody asks how long you've owned it for, well, first of all, it's because you're a good person and you don't want, you kind of feel like it's being unethical, right? But the reason you're actually feeling that way is because of your current mindset. Okay. So when you change your mindset and look at it a little differently, it changes everything. And I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly the feeling that you're describing because believe it or not, I still get that. I still tell people sometimes like, oh yeah, I've only had it for a week or, 2 months, etc. But if it's something that really doesn't matter, I still get those feelings, right? But what I'm saying is, you have to remind yourself. You have to remind yourself about the, mindset going into it. Look at this person as your wife, right? And remind yourself, you want them to have the greatest buying experience they could have. And if that means telling them that you've owned this for a little longer than you have, so they would feel better about it and feel more secure and safe about their purchase, I mean, why not do it? What's the big deal, right? And, there's a really good marketing book out there by Seth Godin called All Marketers Are Liars, but then the word liars is crossed out and it's above it is written storytellers. So if you stop and just get real with, everything, with reality, with yourself, everything is a story. Everything you buy, everything you experience, we're buying the story behind it, and we feel good even if we know the story is not real. Okay? It's all about the story that we create and give people. That's what makes them feel good about it. Okay, now we believe that wine tastes better in a $20 glass than it does in a $1 glass. And we believe that $125 sneakers make our feet feel better and look cooler than a $25 brand. And simply believing it makes it true, right? Okay, so at the end of the day, all of us, all marketers succeed when you tell the right story that fits, your prospect's worldview. Okay, but like I said, I'm not saying your stories have to be, you can't just go around telling inauthentic stories that are lies, or if your stories cross the line from, fibbing to fraud and all that, that's a different story. But ultimately, if your story is good and it makes them feel good, are you a liar or are you a storyteller? So once you make that mindset shift, everything's going to be so much better. Okay, they're going to be happier. You're going to have better, positive, joyful experiences. Every time you sell something to someone, you're going to get to see their face light up or see them feel good about their purchase. And it's just good business. I mean, come on, it's just good business. Look, nobody's getting hurt. There's no harm being done. I'm not saying you go out there and lie about something. For example, let me just give you an example. If it's something big, like if it's if you bought a car that you're looking to flip, and let's say you just bought a car 5 days ago and you're looking to sell it, right? Maybe you don't know too much about the car, or maybe you don't know that it's 100% flawless and good to go. And let's say in a scenario like that, you posted it up and you told the buyer that, I've owned it for 5 years. It's been perfectly reliable. Now, I think that would be pushing it a little, just because it's a bigger deal and it's a bigger, there's actual risk involved. But even in the car example, let's say the rare chance that you just happen to know 100% with 100% certainty that this car actually is everything you claim, and you start making claims about it, and you had, let's say you're a professional car mechanic, or you sent it to a guy and for sure, then it's up to you. I mean, you're going to have to make the call. Personally, when it comes to like a car example, I still wouldn't feel right, telling them I've owned it for longer than I have, just because I feel like that's a little different. But you're going to have to make the call, okay? You're going to have to make the decision. But, when it comes to regular items, regular things, basic, nothing complicated, where it doesn't make a difference, to them or the product or anything, or how long you've owned it, if it doesn't really matter, then why not give them that feeling of, the feeling where they feel good about their purchase and everyone walks away happy. So ultimately, to wrap this up, it's really your call. Think about, how do you want them to feel after they buy it? How are they going to feel after they buy it and own it for a long time? So that's my response. That's my answer to this question. Always remember, the person is your wife. Think about them as your wife. You don't have to, outright lie, but you want to do what it takes to make them feel good about it. And if that means telling them that you've owned it for longer than you have so that they feel good about it, why not give them that feeling? I hope that helps, and keep killing it. Later, guys.
This has been the Flipping Ninja Podcast. From the crew at theflippingninja.com, we believe that all Americans should be able to make their own money without having to rely on a job. If you're ready to ditch the 9-to-5, visit theflippingninja.com and join our Flipping Ninja Blueprint Masterclass, where you'll discover how to earn a reliable side income of $1,000 to $5,000 a month flipping things with just 5 to 10 hours a week. See, we're on a mission to help 100,000 people earn $1,000 a month on the side flipping things. Working professionals, students, parents, men, women, artists, techies, entrepreneurs, introverts, total newbies, you name it. Be a part of the revolution and blast out of living paycheck to paycheck once and for all at www.theflippingninja.com. Until next time, remember, you're just one flip away from freedom. Want to make a difference? If you enjoyed today's show, please pay it forward and head over to iTunes. Give us a rating and leave a review so others just like you can benefit and take charge of their financial future.